This was the Star Wars finale that somehow made Darth Vader feel not just powerful, but unavoidable. But it wasn't about lightsabers. It was about manipulation, revenge, and someone taking their very first step into the dark side. Welcome to Your In Depth, where we walk through and break down our favorite fictional universes, Maul, Shadow Lord. We're going to get into talking about it, but episodes 9 and 10 just released. This closes out season 1. Evan, real quick. Well, first off, I'm here with Evan. I'm Jacob. But
Hi.
Evan, what are your thoughts?
I want more.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. No,
why?
it's
What? More.
Yeah, no, it that is something that so with this series, I mean, obviously we've talked about it, thoroughly like it. It does seem like things just go by, like it's just like each week it's like, oh man, that's it. Okay, like it's good, you know, don't get me wrong. And I like the pacing, but I feel like it being broken up as much as it is, it's almost like still feels like not enough. But that's also just being greedy, I suppose. Now that we've got it all out at once, we can watch it all the way through.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
truly experience the right thing. But no, this was great. But before we truly get into our discussion, let's remember what we are covering. So in episodes 9 and 10, we see Maul and the survivors as they try to escape the Empire, only to come face to face with Darth Vader in a brutal showdown that pushes Devon closer to the dark side. While Vader dominates the battle physically, Maul manipulates events to gain something more important: Devon's loyalty, greater control over Crimson Dawn, and a growing criminal empire in the shadows. The finale ends with Devon accepting Maul's training, Daki dead, and Vader realizing Maul has become a dangerous threat to the Empire once again. So that's what we covered, or what we're covering. That's what happened in the episode. There's like 3 talking points within that alone. But let's just, before diving into that, take a quick step back, have an ad break. I know it's early, and then finish out, like, talk about what we just watched. So here. This episode is brought to you by the Dead Dads Club. Have you recently lost a father figure? Well, give us a call and join our support group. That's relevant to today's episode. Because Riley,
Yeah.
as well as,
Yep.
yeah, Devon.
That is not what I thought. I mean, I didn't know what you were gonna do. I didn't know who was gonna be sponsoring this episode, but I did not think it was gonna be that. That's for sure. That would have been probably one of my last guesses.
Well, I like to keep your calf muscles nice and bulky by keeping you on your toes. You know, you got to always come up with something random.
Okay.
Yeah, so support group, if you're within Star Wars or just overall. Listen, I didn't specifically say in the ad that it was Star Wars, so if you're like, oh, I don't have a support group, go find one. Sorry about your dad, but this isn't real. This was just meant for the Star Wars thing. Get help. Anyway, Evan.
So let's just get into the episode and move past that. Initial.
That sounds good.
Initial high point, low point?
Initial high point, low point.
Yeah.
I feel like, well, okay. the Star Wars fan, little kid in me wants to say the Vader fight
Yeah.
just because of how freaking cool Vader is. Just we'll talk about that in a moment. But overall, I feel like I'm always a fan of the whole like chess moves in the game, in the show, or any Star Wars show, or any show, when you see the plan unfolding and seeing Maul just like gain Daki's trust, kind of not really, but work with him and fight with him, and then when he had his moment, just and leave him for dead. And
Yeah, I mean, he did like
all to
a base level of trust, I feel like, was established. Like, obviously, Daki didn't trust him wholeheartedly by any means, but it was like, I can trust him to help me in this fight because if he doesn't, we both die type of deal.
Yeah. But even then, he utilized it and got Daki killed and then got what he wanted in turning Devon.
Yeah.
And seeing that like unfold, we saw it throughout the whole series where it's like he's manipulating things, trying to present himself like, hey, there's the big empire, they're the big bad guys. I'm on your side because I'm against them. It doesn't matter our differences, kind of thing, all the way until now, taking his chance. And, you know, that's a high point, I think, but also the Vader fight. Low point. Ooh, God, dude, there's a lot of high points. I can't think of any low points. Another high point popped into mind. The freaking cool sacrifice from Icarus.
Yeah.
Just tackling the droids into the acid pit.
Yeah. This is
right
my
after
low
just
point.
beaming them with throwing knives.
Yeah. This is my low point. Vario didn't die.
He's kind of gotten to the point where, okay, no. That's not a low point for me, because this is something that's more of a comment that I think is funny. It redeemed it for me because of his stupid little like, okay, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this.
Yeah.
You're not
big,
small,
you're
you're
tall.
super tall.
Yeah. I will say, over the course of the show, his character has grown on me. I don't hate him. I would say I don't hate him anymore. I'm not the biggest fan of the character, but he's grown on me a little bit. You know,
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm there as well, because in the beginning I was just like, I couldn't wait until Maul no longer had a use for him, and just, you know, but now it's like, yeah, I don't love him, but yeah, he's all right. He's all right.
Yeah.
So I would, that's not a low point for me, but, I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know of a low point. Part of me wants to nitpick and say the fact that Vader's shoulder got kind of nicked by, I think, Devon didn't make sense to me. But also, like, who cares?
Right.
He's still destroyed.
Right. And I mean, even with that, though, it's like the dude's 3v1ing right now, and all that happens is he gets a little shoulder nick.
Exactly.
You know, and so it's
also
like, yeah, on one side, it's like, you know, how did an apprentice score a single hit on someone like Vader? But at the same time, it's like, dude's 3v1ing and destroying, you know? So it's like...
mostly one-handed at that.
Yeah. Yeah. My high point was in episode 9 when they're all there in the underground where it's got like the acid pools and stuff, right? And Daki turns and ignites his lightsaber because he senses the Inquisitors coming. This moment, I had to pause the show, back up, rewatch, because it just blew my mind. Just the visual of it was when Merrick
really
and the
cool scene.
Crow came flying in their full speed, did a little like jump slide over under each other. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, that
it was like
incredible.
It was like
that's my high for 9. Because I do have another one.
It reminded me. That kind of reminded me of like exploring a cave in the forest. That game when you're just kind of going and then out of nowhere there's a million bats flying at you a million miles an hour and it scares the crap out of you. Because these guys are like they come rushing out full force.
Oh my gosh, I thought that was amazing. Just the cinematic of that, just the visual of the two of them like full speed, lightsabers ignited, coming in, crisscrossing under over. Oh my goodness.
You even got a
awesome.
really, really cool camera angle. I believe as the crow, I think it was, is running, like you're at the end of his lightsaber and it like pans with you and then just, but it's like, something about the way that was done was really cool. But dude, visually this show is pretty solid.
Another top visual point for me was in episode 10 when it was Vader squaring off against Maul and Daki and Devon squaring off against both Inquisitors. And then all of a sudden it's like Devon, Daki, and Maul all back to back. And it was a point where I had to go back and like freeze frame, look at it so I could just comprehend what I'm looking at. But it was like this epic like three-way block of the three of them blocking Vader and the Inquisitors, and it was one of those where you could just like pause it there, take that frame and put it on your wall, and that's just going to be a talking point for any nerd that comes in. If they know what Star Wars is, they're going to want to talk about that scene. If they don't know what that scene's from, they're going to be like, what is that? That is amazing.
Yeah.
And it was just,
it was similar
I just had to
in
like
episode...
go back and pause it just to, it was great.
It was similar, though, in some ways to episode 9, where they were in the acid. I think it was in there. It might have been before that. But where Daki, Devon, Maul, and the two Inquisitors are all fighting, and they all, like, clash blades at the same time, where they're all in, like, this formation, where they're all, like... And, like, how that came together was also really cool.
Yeah.
But dude, this show,
another brilliant, this wasn't even a visual, this was an audio moment. The end of 9, when Rook and the other Mandalorian go out to scout ahead, and it just sounds like some sort of beast is out there, like ripping them apart. And like she comes running back, and she's like, "Something's out there." She gets ripped back into the mist. It's like, oh,
yeah. And you can hear her just like, and then just, and it's just like, oh, because she also, there was a lot of theories where it's like, oh, she's the armorer in the Mandalorian, and then I've seen like a bunch of YouTube videos now where they're like, well, that was squashed.
Yep. Well, because I made a comment in our last episode, like. A theory, not much for, not much against. Well, now there's a big old smackaroony right there in front of your face of against. She did. So. Yeah, dude, it was. So here's my question to you also. How does this show stack up against all of Star Wars to you? It's high in my list of Star Wars between movies and shows, and even books and whatnot. Like it's way up there. I would even, just based off of season 1 alone, I would even put this above Clone Wars, because Clone Wars, yes, has its amazing moments, but it does have its like down in the mud moments too that just suck. Whereas, like, all of Maul is just high. Like, just good. I would put it above Clone Wars. I'd put it above Rebels. Both of which are phenomenal. Just off the top of my head, the only thing that I would put above Maul would be Revenge of the Sith. I would put the entire original trilogy below Maul, personally. Like, those are good movies, don't get me wrong. I enjoy them. But
so I guess what is your top 3 then? I'll answer these 2 questions in a moment.
Would go Revenge of the Sith, truthfully, probably Revenge of the Sith, then Maul, and then Clone Wars, probably.
I trying to think of my top three because okay, so Maul for me is above Clone Wars, above Rebels. Honestly, any of the shows, I except for one, I do think that it's surpassed all of them. I like that they are emphasizing more of pacing themselves with storytelling. I mean, we've talked before, and that's a big thing for me. Is good storytelling. I can't wait to get to it. I can't wait to never shut up about it. But for me, I mean, number one, Andor. Always. Number one, and I hope something will top that. I truly do, because that is like the standard for me now, because it's just so well done. Then, though, it's kind of a toss-up for me between Maul and Revenge of the Sith. Because, again, looking at... I like what they did here.
Yeah.
I don't know which one to place above the other.
Well,
but it's
I find it really hard.
It's definitely passed up a lot of previous shows that I very much like.
I find it really hard to compare TV shows to movies, right? Because you can just do so much more with TV shows. You can do so much more with them because you can have multiple seasons, and like with this, like you can take your time and you can do a certain pacing with it. Whereas like TV shows or a movie, you've got 2-3 hours, unless it's an amazing movie. So if you get past 3 hours, you start to lose people real fast.
Yeah, well, even then, you at a certain point, it's like, okay. Yeah. I mean, because friggin' Interstellar, Project Hail Mary, those are both like 3.5 hour movies.
Yeah.
I think 3 hours. I don't think they were past that.
And that's what I was saying. Unless it's like an amazing movie. Unless it's an amazing movie, once you hit close to 3 hours, you lose people. Like the Lord of the Rings movies, all of them are over 3 hours, but they're solid, amazing movies, so people, you can watch it and stick with it.
But anyway, with that, I think that they kind of have to be separate categories then, because you're kind of right in that. So to me, for TV shows, it goes Andor, Maul. A good chunk of the Clone Wars. Nope, he froze. There you are. You able to hear me?
Yeah.
Did you hear my answer?
I heard separate cat, and then I was frozen until chunk of the Clone Wars. So I think I missed all of your answer.
That's cool. I think that they have to be separate categories because they are different mediums. And in that case, I'm going to answer it by going Andor, Maul, a chunk of the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Because quite honestly, with Clone Wars, like, there are some very, very solid arcs in it. But as a whole, I feel like even Rebels kind of seems more cohesive in some ways as far as a single storyline.
Yeah, well, and the issue you run into with Clone Wars is they're trying to cover a bunch of the entirety of the war across an entire galaxy. Right. Whereas something like with Maul here, or even Rebels, they're honing in on a small group. Or even like Andor, they're honing in on Cassian Andor. So you can like focus on him and kind of the people around him. Whereas like, again, Clone Wars is covering the war itself, the politics of it, the clones and the Jedi, and some together, some separate. Yeah. Some morons like a certain Gungan that we hate.
Yeah, Boss Nass. Is Boss Nass a Gungan? What is he?
Yeah. He's just a really fat Gungan.
Yeah, okay. Kind of like Orn Free Taz, a super fat Twi'lek.
Yep.
That's crazy. They're so chunky. Anyway, I have some major talking points here that I think are cool. They're not talking points. I don't anticipate there being a ton of discussion, except for one of them. But there's a lot of cool little Easter egg kind of like things, and I'm looking forward to getting into them. So, firstly, a very interesting note, Maul was able to connect in a dream to Devon.
Yeah.
There has been theories for a while, and there's kind of like some speculation in a book on Palpatine doing that to Anakin and placing those dreams of Padme dying and all of those things. But it wasn't ever really, I don't believe, confirmed
I do
that
want to
was
double
even a
check on
thing
that.
in Star Wars.
Because,
Okay.
truthfully, I always, in my mind, it was always Palpatine manipulating Anakin. And I guess I just never went in to look deeper. So I'm going to do a quick check on that.
I know that was some speculation. I don't know if it was confirmed, but this for sure, I think, confirms it.
I just want to see if there's something official, but I'm not seeing anything from, say, like Wikipedia or anything like that on here. So I'm just kind of going off of what AI Overview gives. It says it's heavily implied and widely believed that Palpatine used the Force to manipulate Anakin's nightmares. So I wouldn't necessarily say the events here in Maul Shadow Lords definitively proves it, but it's definitely a strong argument for Palpatine manipulating Anakin's
if
dreams.
this is a trick, where did Maul learn it?
Right.
And it's like, but that was something cool to me, because it was like, it does grant validity to that and make it pretty likely.
Yeah.
But
one thing I found really cool, or I shouldn't say really cool, but I found interesting, and I wonder if that's the case, or the route that the creators are going with this, is I'm sure you've seen stuff on it about Darth Talon, an apprentice of Maul.
I've seen
in Legends, right? But I've seen a lot of people posting stuff of Devon becoming like a canonized version of Darth Talon, because in Legends, Darth Talon is an apprentice of Darth Maul. And even George Lucas, if he would have done the sequel trilogy instead of Disney, George Lucas did have thoughts of using Darth Talon as the main villain of his of his sequel trilogy. So I've seen a lot of people making shorts and full like YouTube videos and stuff of, is Devon the new Darth Talon? Is she going to become the canonical Darth Talon type of deal? So I'm curious to see if that's where like Dave Filoni and the team are going with this, or if they're coming up with a whole new villain.
So I've seen those as well, and I've not even prior to now, I still don't grant much into them. But what are your thoughts on those? What are your thoughts on the fate and the outcome of where Devon will go?
My initial thought is like, she's going to go bad for a little bit and then come back to the light. Like we see with, spoiler alert for Rebels. If anybody hasn't watched that, click away and come back in like 10 minutes. If it kind of like in Rebels with Ezra when he meets Maul, right? Like he starts to dip into the dark side after he meets Maul, and he starts to consider that side of the Force and what that could give him and whatnot. But then he does come back to the light. But with the way that they've been doing this show, where it's like I'm expecting this to happen and then it doesn't, and also the fact of like her seeing her master get killed, right? And not getting any closure there. Like in the moment. Because like with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, it's like Obi-Wan saw Qui-Gon die, but then he faced and defeated Maul, so he kind of got that closure in the moment to help him move on, But Devon doesn't get that. She gets pulled away and told, no, you can't do that yet. And so that's just going to give her time to like stew in her revenge plots and her anger and her hatred and her depression and all that kind of stuff. I kind of feel like Devon is going to have a very, very long fall to the dark side, and I don't think she will come back. The only way I can see her coming back is if Kid Lawson, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Riley Lawson, thank you. Is if Riley is somehow involved and pulls her back to the light. That's the only way I could see it happening.
If I'm being real honest, I hope that you're right. I very much like, I mean, I like how Star Wars goes. We're both fans of it. But something that I very much appreciated about this show is there has been constant moments where it's like, oh, this is going to happen, and then it doesn't. Or then you think it's going one way and it goes the other way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like a perfect example
Maul's
with that
is one of them. Yeah.
Well, I would say another perfect example for that, for me at least, was not Daki's death itself, but the manner in which he did die. I was expecting Maul to be the one to kill him. Mm-hmm. Like, I was expecting Maul to, like, physically stab him in the back or physically slash across his chest or something like that, you know. I was not anticipating Vader showing up and being the one to deliver the final blow. You know, and so it's even with just that, because they've hinted at Maul being the one to kill Daki multiple times, right? And they've even hinted at one of the Inquisitors to kill Daki. But neither Maul nor the Inquisitor is the one that lands the final blow. It's the big bad honcho himself, you know? And so even just like with that, the manner at which the outcome we expect, the manner at which it is achieved is just not what I don't think anybody anticipated Vader showing up and being the one to kill Daki. I don't think anybody's surprised that Maul betrayed Daki and pushed it, you know, used the Force to push him towards Vader, but you know, but yeah, even just like with that is now whether or not Devon will become Darth Talon, if that will be her name, right? I don't know.
Do you think that
maybe?
Do you think that Maul is still in the mindset of like a Sith, or is he just kind of doing his own thing? Like, because he no longer has Darth, so there's no real reason for him to be making her into Darth something, right?
Right.
Sorry, I was working today and I freaking absolutely stripped the heck out of a screw, and then I went to pull it away and I just got like a metal shaving splinter in my thumb, and it's hurting me, so I'm picking at it as we talk. Why I needed to say that, I don't know, but I'm sorry.
To answer your question, though, I think Maul is going to forever be in the mindset of a Sith, just because of his years of training and being in that mindset. That's just kind of ingrained into him. So he's always going to have this mindset of like using the Force and, you know, not worrying about things like collateral damage and, you know, manipulating people and all that kind of stuff that Sith do. But to a certain extent, he has kind of separated himself from the traditional Sith, because he has foregone the title, I guess, of Darth at this point. So it's kind of like it's a yes and a no, right? So it's like he's separating himself, but he's also, I think, forever just in that mindset now because of how he grew up and the training he had and the way that he just approaches situations in general is just a very Sith mindset.
Gotcha.
Or a Sith approach, however you want to dub it, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Just give me a minute. This thing freaking hurts. You can keep talking. Go with your next point. Anything you want to talk about? I have some, but I'm going to wait until I get this stupid thing out of my finger.
Yeah.
Oh.
And this was something you and I talked about briefly before we started recording. It really bothers me that we have all of the existing Star Wars after this moment, after these events. Because it's like, in the moment, you can sit there and be like, oh man, Vader's going to town, he's going to kill him, like, Vader's going to take out Maul, yada, yada, yada. But it's like, no, we have Solo, we have Rebels. We know how Maul meets his end, and it's not here. And we've commented on this before, and it kind of like takes the stakes out of it a little bit for the viewer. And it's episodes like these where I really just wish we didn't have the rest of Star Wars yet.
Do you wish that, I guess you didn't, it's like you're not factoring those in as you're watching it kind of thing?
Either that
not
or
necessarily
like,
oh my God. This thing. I pushed it deeper.
Jeez.
Hurts so bad.
Well, it's not even to not factor those things in while watching the show, but it's more of like that and not having the knowledge of what happens in the future of Star Wars. Because it's like, in the moment, I'm not sitting there thinking like, oh, Maul's not going to die here because he dies in Rebels. But it's like, once I've finished watching and I have a moment to like sit there and think after all the action is done, once the story has been finished for the episode, it's like, well, Maul really wasn't in any real danger of losing his life because I know that happens later type of deal. So it's like, I wish either I had not seen the rest of Star Wars past this point yet, or they were not out yet, concluding me not having seen them yet. Just always like this, the stakes are still there, and that leaves me sitting here like, oh man, what's going to happen next? Is Maul going to die next season? Yada, 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 yada. That sort of thing.
Yeah. Sorry about my distractions. I got it out. My finger's now bleeding, but I got it out. So returning to Devon a little bit, I saw a theory where it was going towards her. Obviously, she's going to have a spell of being influenced by the dark side.
Right.
She's very angry. She's accepted Maul's training. Yeah, I mean, I think that's clearly that's where that's going to go. However, it was interesting that there's two details. Lawson saw Maul do that to Daki. And we didn't see him die.
Mm-hmm.
It's implied, but he went into the fog only having been shot like once or twice. And not in lethal places.
I don't think Lawson's dead.
I don't either. And the theory was they're going to reconnect and reunite, and he is going to tell Devon that, and that sort of betrayal then maybe causes her to spiral more. Maybe she's more angry, more. But it's like how much turn her against Maul.
Well, because with that, it's like how much time is going to pass? How long will she have been then trained by Maul?
Right.
And so it's like, again, like I don't think Lawson's dead. I feel like there is going to be some sort of reconnect between Lawson and Devon in season 2. But again, it's like how much time has passed? How much has she now been influenced by Maul? And with that, it's like when she does find out about this, is she going to even care at that point? Because, like, to a certain extent, it's like, oh, he got my master killed. He did not kill my master, but he got him killed. I'm going to betray him. Or like, I'm going to get my revenge now on Maul. Or is it going to be something along the lines of, in getting my old master killed, he's given me more power. and I can no longer be hurt like I was then. I am thankful for what he did in a very twisted, weird sort of way.
That was what was holding me back. Like Daki was holding me back. Maul has freed me by killing him.
Mm-hmm. I think it really depends on, number one, obviously, is if Lawson is actually alive. I'm pretty sure he is, right?
Yeah.
But then number two is how much time has Maul had by the time they meet up again to indoctrinate Devon, to influence her mind, to twist. Yeah, to indoctrinate. But yeah, it's just how much time has he had to twist her mind and twist her thoughts and change her viewpoint entirely? Because it's especially with Sith, it's at a certain point for a Sith, there is no coming back.
Right.
And because it's if you ask me, there is no way Maul would ever leave the dark side. There's no way he would even consider letting go of the dark side of the Force. And it's you look at Vader in episode 6, it's the only reason he came back to the light is because his son was literally about to die in front of him.
Yeah.
That is the only reason he came back. That was the only way he could ever possibly come back to the light side. Because someone that he is that connected with was about to die. Someone like Maul doesn't have that. Someone like Devon does not have that.
Even in Maul's end, he's still he's still seeking that revenge against Sidious, because he's is he the chosen one? He will avenge us.
Right. He's still coming at it from a very dark side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unless they do some stupid stuff where they're oh, he didn't die there. He's still going. I would be so angry if they did that, because some people are saying that. Well, and I'm leave him dead, but expand his story between that point and what we have.
I've heard people talk about retconning that death. I've heard people talking about that, and on one hand, I 100%, I agree with you. Leave him dead, expand the story between what we have and where he concludes. But on the other hand, it's there's so much potential to do with Maul. There's so much there to work with that could just be all good storytelling that could go past that moment if he were alive, And so it's just on one hand, it's leave him dead. We got the confirmed death. We got the conclusion of his story. But on the other hand, it's I kind of want some more Maul.
Yeah.
But then at that point, it's you get into the original trilogy, and it's well, where was Maul during all of that stuff?
Right. So there were some really cool things that I heard pointed out, and I picked up on some of them. So the scene in episode 9, where Maul is approaching the stormtroopers and the ATPT, I think. So the
is it PT or ST? I saw ATST. I don't know which one it is.
I believe it's the precursor to the ATST.
Okay.
Just in the timeline of stuff.
Yeah.
This. Either way, the freaking ATST looking thing. As Maul was approaching that, did you pick up on the direct correlation and kind of cool little nod to Starkiller in how he took it down?
Yep.
That was really cool.
I do as well that so before these 2 episodes came out, they had released a little teaser 1-minute clip, and it was that scene. Yeah. But they did it right as he starts running, right as he goes forward and starts his attack. And so I saw people talking oh, Maul back to full power, his legs repaired, all this kind of stuff, and it's you watch it, no, he's not at full power. His leg's still damaged. He has to do the little kick thing to get it back in gear. Yeah. And so even that, I was that's cool. I like they include the little detail there.
Mm-hmm.
Just as a little reminder, really cool. just a little reminder of he's still damaged, he's still wounded, but he can still do this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I did pick up on the Starkiller kind of reference, Force Unleashed game reference there. That was that was another cool scene. Just like I liked he like hit and had the pause and then like pushed the blade through the leg as well.
There was a couple of soundtrack choice ones. Did you pick up on any of them?
I picked up. There was the Imperial March for Vader was in there. There was a second one that I recognized in the moment. I'm trying to think what it was now. Oh gosh, what was it? The intro slide of like Maul, Shadow Lord, wasn't that Duel of Fates?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. There was those two. Then, just at different points throughout, it was the same theme as when Anakin is fighting Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, okay.
And then one that I thought was really cool was when Devon witnesses Daki get killed. It is the same theme as when Anakin found his mom in the Raider camp.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool seeing reused themes, because it's kind of like if you're thinking about it and like you've lived out Star Wars and you've been a fan of it for a while, you hear it and it almost triggers the same emotion as in those other scenes. And I mean, it's a tool being used, and it's kind of cool in that way because it does evoke those emotions.
Well, and even foreshadows certain things as well. You know, because it's like the intro of, what is it, episode 9, or whichever one is 9 or 10, where it does the Duel of Fates of the Fates.
I think it was 9, but I don't know.
You know, obviously in original Phantom Menace, that is the fate of Anakin. In this instance, it's the fate of Devon. You know, because it's just like, if Daki doesn't die here, then Devon doesn't have this turn to the dark side that we're starting to see here. And then there's like the Imperial March with Darth Vader, just foreshadowing the power of the Empire to come. You know, the Imperial fist that they have. Yeah, just different stuff like that. It foreshadows. It can foreshadow like what's to come. I think that's really cool.
Something I want to talk on that you didn't. We had mentioned a little bit earlier when we were not recording, but we were both kind of skeptical on them introducing Vader.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how do you adequately do that?
Right. It's like, how do you do justice to both Darth Vader and Maul without diminishing the other? Yeah. And
how do you think they did, Evan?
I was thoroughly impressed with the way they went about it. Because like you had Maul and Vader, obviously Maul and Vader fighting, but at the same time, it's like Vader is clearly and obviously dominating the fight, but at the same time, Maul is still injured and damaged. Like his legs are still damaged. He is still hurt.
Yeah.
He is not.
And
at
for the
full
majority
power.
of it, it's not only Maul.
Yeah.
Against Vader.
Yeah, so I was thoroughly impressed with the way they went about it. I'm glad they didn't just have like a full power Maul versus full power Vader, because that's what we had talked about in the last episode, where it was like one of the characters here are going to be diminished in some way. But with having Maul injured and having Daki and at some points Devon fighting Vader with him, they kind of got around that and prevented any of those issues.
Yeah. Something I had mentioned too when we were talking about this is that like Vader's presence in the show, it feels, it took me right back to oh, it's right here. Right.
Yeah.
Guy. I want to say it might have been that game. No, it wasn't. Do you remember those plug and play games where it was like it looked like a ship? It was like the one in my mind is this little Millennium Falcon, and it's got a joystick on top of it, and it's got some buttons, and there were Star Wars games. I remember, dude, this was the first time I had tried to physically rip apart a controller with my hands. It was, I believe, you were playing as Luke and you were fighting Vader. And no matter what I did, I could not win. And I was getting so angry because it just seemed like he was always better. He was just this unstoppable, like, how do I even fight this freaking level?
Yeah.
That's what I felt during this entire
Vader's just like
show,
a force of nature.
Yes, because he is so effortlessly fighting them. He's just perfectly you can even see him like he hits one blade and then immediately without really even looking turns, like flicks it to the other one, deflects that one. And then it's just like he is so in tune and so freaking unstoppable.
And to add on to that too, not only does he effortlessly block one and come to block another, if you pay, you really have to look for it and pay super close attention. When he blocks the first blade, he's already moving to block the second blade before the second blade even starts coming. He blocks Maul, and before Daki even starts to attack, he's already moving to block Daki's blade. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just like and with all of that too, it's like, and I mentioned this to you as well, and you picked up on it too in the episode. Vader doesn't say a word through all of this. Mm-mm. There is not the only sound you get from Vader is the breathing.
Right.
And it really just gives off like this mechanical monster of nature that you cannot escape, that it will always be there. Yeah.
Well, it's even kind of similar, and this is like it's a similar feeling to what Ezra had when him and Kanan encountered Vader.
Yeah.
They like got out of there and Ezra's like, what was that? You remember that?
Yeah.
Because it is very much like, I mean, in him talking would have humanized him a little bit. Mm-hmm. And obviously we know who he is, we know his story, but it definitely makes it this like the monster in the shadows sort of thing. And
because it's like we know who he is. We know his story. You know.
Now Maul, I think, also pieced it together.
But like Devon doesn't know who it is. Daki doesn't know who it is. Ezra and Kanan never knew who it was. And it was never who is that or who was that. It was always what. You know, because it's like you see something like that come walking up. It's like never in my mind, if I'm in that position that they're in without the knowledge I have, never in my mind would I sit there and be like, who was that? Like that, there's a person in there. In my mind, that's a robot. Like what is that? It was using the Force, but it has to be a machine. You know, with how fast it was, always being in the right place at the right time, dominating the way that Vader dominates. You know, with the limited knowledge that these characters would have, I don't think anybody in there in their first time encountering Vader would ever sit there and be like, there's a person in there, that's a suit. Like I just don't think anyone would.
Here's a question that I just thought of because we're talking about how, well, okay, to touch on this a little bit more. So there's that video game, and then there's like this feeling that I get when there's like certain games that the same feeling was just this inability to fight a character, and it's like you have to run, and it's just this nonstop, like there's no winning. You can fend them off for a little bit, but it's just
Fallen Order.
Keep running.
Fallen Order, I think, did actually amazing with that too. You know, with Cal Kestis.
Same scene.
Yeah, with Cal, like when Vader shows up in that game, it Cal as well, two seers. Like, I think Cal says, "Who's that?" You know, in the moment, but Vader talks. You know, there, so that's kind of, you know, so there's kind of an acknowledgement of someone, but.
Right,
but even in that, when you're playing in the fight,
because in that fight, there's no winning. Your goal is to get away from him, And actually, yeah, Fallen Order did exactly that. And that's the feeling that I'm getting in this scene where it's like, you have no choice.
Yeah.
Fight him off maybe, but really just get away from him.
Yeah.
Because it is this unstoppable, like, you're not winning this, and maybe you can get out.
And like in Fallen Order, like, yeah, in the game, Cal gets some hits on Vader. If you're good enough at the game, you can get a couple hits in, right? But it's a video game, like that's going to happen, But it's like if you took that and put that into a TV show or a movie, like Cal is just getting thrown all over the place. He never lands a single blow on Vader, and then he gets the heck out of there the first chance he can, And again with this, like Vader gets hit in this show one time. And it's by the apprentice who gets a lucky shot while he's just dealing with Daki and Maul, But
right. So here's the question for you though. Depictions of Vader outside of the original trilogy. What version do you think does him the most justice? Because to me, what comes to mind is Rogue One, the ending hallway scene.
Yeah.
I also think of, even though a shorter scene, in Kenobi, when he rips the village person out of the house and just kills him right there. Like, there's certain scenes where it's like you get a picture of how Vader is, whether it be ruthless or unstoppable. What do you think does his character the most justice outside of the original trilogy in depicting that?
Truthfully, like genuinely, I think it is this show does the most to hold up. Because it's like in any other scene that we see with Vader, where he's actually like fighting or something like that, right? It is either rebel troopers with blasters who just don't stand a chance anyways, period, whatsoever, in any way, shape, or form, or it's Luke, and, obviously in episode 5 he gets beat, in episode 6 he comes back and wins, or it's Obi-Wan. And Obi-Wan's already beat him once, like we know that Obi-Wan has this level of skill to go toe-to-toe with Vader and survive and actually beat him in some cases, And so it's like, even in Rebels, when you see him fighting Kanan and Ezra, truthfully, like Kanan is, yes, he's quote-unquote knighted, in the show. But, like, he's still got, like, I would say the skill of a Jedi apprentice who's just about to get knighted. I wouldn't even say Kanan's top, 50 Jedi, period. Of the time, like, within the Clone Wars context, even into Rebels. And so it's like, obviously, like, Vader in Rebels is fighting essentially against two apprentices when he's fighting Kanan and Ezra. But here in this show, Vader is fighting a Jedi Master and his apprentice, along with a former apprentice of the most powerful Sith to ever exist. And real quick, I don't care what anybody says. You can say Darth Nihilus or Darth Talon or Darth whoever, Darth this, Darth that would beat Palpatine. That's not true. It just simply is not. We have canon given to us. Palpatine is the most powerful Sith to have ever existed. Period. And Maul is trained by that dude. And Vader is fighting a Jedi Master, apprentice to the most powerful Sith to ever exist, and the Jedi Master's apprentice, and still is just dominating. This show gives Vader the ultimate, this is who Vader is depiction. I agree. In my opinion, like, you are not going to convince me otherwise. Don't get me wrong. Rogue One hallway scene, solid scene. Shows his brutality, his savagery, all that kind of stuff. Amazing scene. This one to me beats it. Hands down.
I asked that question because, I think that the hallway scene was the go-to for me, where it's like just how cool he is. And it's bad to say that he's cool because he's, but And I think all the scenes do him justice because it's like you get to see
Right.
how ruthless he is to
Yeah.
draw out Obi-Wan. He pulls him across coals
Mm-hmm.
like just to inflict pain and toy with his prey,
Right.
basically. All of these depict him well, but I do think that this show takes the cake because of you do see how strong he is.
Yeah.
Also, another one to add to that in Kenobi when the starship takes off before
Yeah.
somehow just like duping him. Either way, how he just stops a ship midair. You know? Did I freeze? Evan's looking at me weird. Did I freeze?
No, I did.
No, you didn't.
Oh, on my end it did. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay. So you couldn't hear me.
So it was as the ship left and kind of duped him.
Oh yeah, just that him pulling it out of the
Yeah.
air.
Yeah.
That's another scene to add to it. But I think that this one takes the cake in showing his strength and depicting his character.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not a big fan of the way they did the animation in Rebels for Vader, just physical appearance. Like the way the helmet was and whatnot was off to me.
Yeah.
And some of the depictions that we've gotten of Vader in some of the like cartoons and stuff are, to me, they're kind of off, but it's in brand with like the art style of that show. But
Sure.
I feel like this show, I feel like just put him in there as you would expect to see him, correlate like in comparison to the original trilogy, the Darth Vader suit and everything. It was like on point. You didn't have the kind of distorted head a little bit that you see in like Rebels. And so even just the physical appearance of Vader in this was phenomenal. And they even did like his lightsaber reflecting off of like the helmet and like the shoulders where he has like that bit of shiny black on him, even that stuff was really good. But I have to bring this up because I mentioned it before. The amount of theatrics that Vader goes to to instill fear into his opponents is just put on point. It is on point in this show. The slaughtering of the Mandalorians, ripping Rook back into the fog, emerging from the fog itself. And my mind just goes back to like the Rogue One hallway scene where it's like the first time you physically see him is when he ignites the lightsaber. He turned off his breathing device, his breathing apparatus, just to instill terror. And then at the end of that hallway scene when he's standing there in the void of space, his cape is billowing, which means he has to be using the Force to billow his cape just to give himself like the aura of Vader. Like Vader is very much a showman as much as he is a Dark Lord. And that is on display here in the show as well. And it is amazing and I love it.
Yeah.
I had to mention it. I would have been disappointed in myself if I did not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say something I did not anticipate. Two Boots surviving was not. I did not think Two Boots was going to make it out alive. He gets hit. He gets damaged.
Droid, Maul's droid dying.
My initial reaction was like, yeah, get that little out of here, right? Like that's an evil droid right there. But when I took a second to think about it, I was like, this is the equivalent, the dark side equivalent to, say, Anakin seeing R2 get destroyed in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, to an extent, because I don't think Maul cares about the droid as much as Anakin cares about R2. But,
no, not at all.
But that's the closest comparison you could make, I feel like, would be like in the Clone Wars when Anakin, I can't remember, I think it's season 2. It's the arc where Anakin and Ahsoka get the like R5, whatever it is, the black and gold droid R2 unit, right? And it's even in that one where like Anakin is outraged, upset, sad, whatnot that R2 is gone, and he goes out looking for him to try and get him back. And it's like that's the closest we can get to like some sort of comparison in this scene. And I do think for a moment, because it does like kind of freeze on Maul's face for a second, where it's like there was, albeit maybe not much of a connection, but there was a little bit of connection between Maul and the droid. I feel like it showed a little bit of like a sad expression on Maul's face when the little Sith droid gets destroyed.
Yeah.
So, but it never came into my mind whether or not the little evil droid was going to live or die. Like, I just never thought about that. But, like, looking back, like, I would not have guessed that it would have gotten taken out.
Yeah.
But then, like, based on the scene as well, it's like, how do you add more tension to the scene? You take out the thing that's getting people out of the battle.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you sit there and watch it, when you think about it, it's like, yeah, it makes sense that the droid gets destroyed. Because that's how you raise the stakes. That's how you make things more intense. Because at this point, there's not an obvious way out.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a final question for you. Primarily, I don't really have any others, but this one I kind of want to see your thoughts on because we've talked about similar things. So before I do that, do you have anything you want to talk about?
I'm curious to see where the story goes regarding Crimson Dawn. Because obviously there's been a pretty big setup for season 2 to get into Crimson Dawn more and learn about what that is in more detail than what we already have. There is a book, I believe it's titled Shadow of Maul, that goes into what's his name, the dude that came to pick up Maul and them.
Dryden Voss.
Yeah, Dryden Voss. It goes into him a little bit more and his connection to Maul, and in that book it references the current leader to Crimson Dawn, which was mentioned in this show now. And so it mentions that, and with this, and I think that book was actually made Legends however long ago, or it came in as Legends, I think. But now the show is, canonized the current leader of Crimson Dawn. It's, it's giving us more into that. So I am curious to see more of what this story will look like and how the events will unfold for Dryden Voss to become the leader, quote unquote leader under Maul, and who's in the shadow, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that arc. I'm looking forward to what Devon's story is going to be. I definitely feel more invested in her character and what's going to happen, with all of that than I was, say, at like the first couple episodes of the show. Even Riley, I'm curious to see where he goes from here too. Because as far as he knows, and truthfully at this point, as far as we know, his dad just died. So I am curious to see what his story will look like in season 2. Yeah, those are just kind of some last thoughts I have at the moment.
Yeah. So, my question. Was Daki right to reject Maul's fight with rage philosophy, even though, or even if it meant losing to Vader?
Was he right? I feel like yes. I think Daki is I think Daki is right in that sense, or in this, because if Daki gives into the rage to fight Vader, which is what Maul wants him to do, wants him and Devon to both do, I think you have another Anakin versus Obi-Wan situation in Episode 3. Anakin is in the dark side at that point. He is tapping into his rage, his anger, all that kind of stuff. But a big reason Anakin loses to Obi-Wan in that fight is because he's new to all of that. You know, he hasn't been fighting with all of that for years to hone his skill while channeling that rage and that darkness consistently. You know, like we see him tap into his darkness in the Clone Wars here and there, but it's never on a consistent basis. And so it's like, if Daki were to do that in this situation, he just would have lost even faster. And he would have been going back on his own beliefs. He would have, at that point, that would be his fall into the dark side if he somehow survived the encounter itself.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he's sticking to his own philosophy, his own morality, his own beliefs, all that kind of stuff. And, he dies as a Jedi, not as a fallen to the dark side character. I wouldn't even, go to call him a Sith or anything like that, or a dark side user. But he would have fallen out of the ways of the Jedi if he would have done that. At least he died who he was, not as something different.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Initially, I was thinking, I feel like it's comparable to the Satine pacifism thing. Sticking to your guns or not.
Well.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And, and so, but at the same time, yeah, thinking about it, like giving into that rage, yeah, maybe like after a while of training and maybe make you more powerful. But you're abandoning your beliefs, and it's going to probably cloud your perception or your judgment enough because you're just jumping into it and letting emotion fuel it. Yeah, he probably would have lost quicker.
Yeah, and because like even with Satine, right? Like you and I have cracked jokes at her sticking to her pacifism, and all of that. But like
Sticking
at
to
least
her water guns. There we go.
Yeah, but at least she's like staying true to who she is and what she believes.
Well, yeah.
At least she's not being like a hypocrite and saying one thing and doing another, or like abandoning her own philosophies and stuff just because things got hard. Right. At least she stuck with her convictions, and in the same way, at least like Master Daki sticks to the Jedi way. He does not give in to temptation. He does not give in to darkness, and he goes out as a Jedi Master, not as a fallen to the dark side, once Jedi type of character. And I mean, again, like you said, and like I said, if he would have given into his rage and stuff, I genuinely believe he just would have died faster. Because he has no experience in fighting in that manner, And like right. You said, like his judgment's going to be clouded in that moment. He's not gonna have his heightened ability and his heightened, senses that he has from having trained as a Jedi for his whole life. This would be brand new territory. He's not going to know how to navigate it, and he's fighting against the most lethal Jedi hunter to arguably have ever existed. I mean, if you go back to like the Old Republic and some Legends stuff, I'm sure you'll find someone more effective than Vader. But within canon, as far as I know, Vader is the most skilled Jedi killer of all time. And trying something new against that sort of character is just not going to work. Now, against one of the Inquisitors, maybe it would have worked, But against Vader himself, no. That would have just been pure stupidity on Daki's part.
Yeah.
And truthfully, I think Daki could have gotten out of there alive if Maul would have stuck with him and they would have kept their 2-on-1, slowly getting closer to the ship itself. I think Daki probably could have survived, but it was purely by Maul's abandoning of him that Daki died.
Yeah.
And because like you see in the fight, and this was something I saw someone else talking about with the episodes. It was a quick like TikTok short video, and whenever in this episode 10, because that's when we see all the fighting. Whenever Vader is fighting any of the three in a one-on-one scenario, they are just beat down over and over and over again. It's not until a second person comes in to support the first that they stand any sort of chance of actually defending against Vader's attacks. Because like you see Maul get beat down, then Daki comes in at the last moment to help Maul block. Or it's Maul and Daki fighting, and Devon comes in at the last moment to throw her strength in there to block the killing blow. And so it's like as soon as Daki was put in one-on-one against Vader, he was done for. As soon as Maul stepped back and said, "I'm done here. I'm leaving you to your fate," that's when Daki was dead. But as long as it was a 2-on-1, they could support each other and at least survive against Maul. Or against Vader, sorry. And with that, they barely survived against Vader. So you throw in the mix of Daki being Judgment Cloud and all that kind of stuff from giving into his rage and whatnot, that just creates so much more chaos on their side. Their defense, I would say, shatters very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Oh, this friggin' show. I cannot wait for season 2.
I am very much looking forward to season 2. If it's even half as good as season 1 was, it's going to be a phenomenal season.
Yeah.
What do you have any predictions? Not just for these characters going forward, but specifically for things that we may see in season 2. Any predictions for season 2 itself? I want to clarify with that because it's like we can go into predictions about Devon and say, probably this, that, or the other, but whether or not that happens in season 2, we can't say. But any predictions specifically for things to happen within the second season of the show?
I really don't know. I feel like the only one that I can say with like a little bit of confidence is I think that Lawson will show up again.
In season 2,
I can't imagine them. I think in season 2, I can't imagine. Well, I can't imagine them like sitting on him for too long. Like just being like, yeah, he's out there. We'll bring him back in season 3.
See,
it seems like a little while.
I think the opposite.
But then again, I guess there is the element of Riley having some development going to do while he's gone.
I think if anything, I think if we see Lawson in season 2, I feel like it's going to be the last episode of season 2, and it's going to be a cliffhanger where he doesn't give Devon the information of what Maul did to Daki.
Mm-hmm.
And that's if we see him in season 2 at all. I feel like we're not going to see Lawson in season 2. And this is all on the condition that he did actually survive, which I think Lawson will have survived the events of the finale here. But I don't think we'll see him until either the very, very end of season 2 or beginning of season 3. I think season 2 is going to be expanding on Riley and his character and giving him a proper like storyline and everything and focusing on him. I think it's going to focus on Devon and Maul training her and whatnot. And I don't think we're going to have a big Lawson comes in and reveals this treachery on Maul's side, and the fallout of that. We might get that at the end of the season 2, and that gives us a cliffhanger leading into a third season. Yeah. I had another one too that I wanted to ask. I'm trying to think what it was. Oh. How do you think Maul is going to approach Devon's training? I asked that with the sense of we saw Maul punishing Savage to train him in the way that Maul was trained. We see Maul come to this approach towards Ezra of being very understanding, quote unquote, and I can help you, and you're only going to get better because, like, he took this very, like, negotiation-esque approach to Ezra to get him to the dark side, but we never saw Ezra become his apprentice. So how, with those kind of things in mind, how do you think Maul will approach actually training Devon in the dark side of the Force?
Probably a mixture of, like, not necessarily that negotiation, but like kind of like that spirit of like commentary mixed with like more aggression. But I don't think in the sense of like he's not going to be abusive like Sidious was.
Right.
But I
or
think
even like he was towards Savage.
Like,
early on in like the Savage Maul, like Maul kind of does like a little bit of like the whole belittling and like the I'm going to piss you off type of thing, get you to bring your anger out even more type of stuff.
I can see him like egging her on in the sense to try to unleash more. I can see that.
But probably not like a force lightning, like probably not like a force lightning like Dooku did to Savage or Sidious did to Maul.
Right. I don't think he's probably going to be physically abusive, but he probably would egg her on and get her angry by taunting her and being that way, because that is going to evoke the emotion that he's trying to get her to hone and utilize. And so, yeah, I can see him being.
I would agree. Yeah. I would agree, especially with Devon's history of being a Jedi apprentice and having the experiences of a Jedi apprentice. Like, if he went in and just force lightning right out of the gate, like, I feel like that's a pretty big turn off to the dark side of the Force when you've experienced apprenticeship as a Jedi.
Yeah.
Because it's like if, in the case of Maul, when Sidious took him, it's like Maul doesn't know anything else. So, as far as he knows, that's how it's done. And that's what works. But it's like if you take someone who's had the training of a Jedi and try and bring them to the dark side, like we don't see Sidious do that to Vader at all. Or to Anakin. Like, Sidious never does the force lightning to Anakin. He never does the, like, we're going to duel and I'm going to beat the crap out of you. And you're going to learn that way to channel your anger. Sidious does the whole manipulation of the mind stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, Anakin has this history of being a Jedi. I don't think you can come out of the gate with the whole force lightning thing and make any real progress. Yeah. So I agree with that completely. I think it's going to be a lot of manipulation, mental games, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. Can't wait for season 2. I think the only upcoming Star Wars that I know of is Mandalorian and Grogu.
Oh, yeah. Comes out this month.
Looking forward to seeing that.
Yep. I'm going to go see that sucker in theaters.
Same. I don't know when, but same.
Well, whenever you do see it, let me know, because that's something we can cover. Something that we should cover as soon as possible. But
yeah, that'd be a fun one to cover. But to the listener, thanks for sticking with us. Would love to know your thoughts. So if you see this on YouTube or Spotify, go ahead and comment. If you're on Spotify, go ahead and leave us a review. If you're on Apple, same thing. YouTube, subscribe. I'm not going to keep going on. The only thing
Spread the
I
word.
will,
Let peeps know.
yeah, spread the word. The only thing that I will leave you with is some words of encouragement. Because, you know, maybe you're listening to this early in the morning and the day's upon you. You don't know what it's going to bring. So just remember, you're not small. You're super tall.
Till next time.
Bye.
Deuces!